Picture this. You're walking alone in a foggy forest just before dawn. The birds have stopped chirping. The air feels heavier than it should. The kind of quiet that makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. Suddenly, you hear it. A low crunch in the leaves, a branch snapping nearby. You turn slowly, and there it is. A figure standing upright, broad-shouldered, thick arms that look carved from stone. Its face is the stuff of ancient nightmares. Deep-set eyes under a heavy brow, a nose flattened by time, a jaw too big for comfort. But then something strange happens. It doesn't growl. It doesn't charge. It stares, calculating, watching, thinking. It recognizes you, not as an animal, as competition. This isn't a fantasy. This isn't Bigfoot. This was a real species, a real threat. It was called Homo heidelbergensis, the ancient human with a brain like ours, but a face like a beast. And the more we uncover, the more terrifying the truth becomes. Chapter 1. The Monster in the Mirror. It all started with a single jawbone. In 1907, a worker digging in a gravel pit near Heidelberg, Germany, struck something hard. Not a rock, a bone. But this wasn't an ordinary human jaw. It was huge, thick, rugged like it had chewed through raw meat its entire life. Scientists were baffled. It looked almost human, but not quite. They called it Homo heidelbergensis, Heidelberg man. For years, it was just a name attached to a few fragments. A jaw here, a piece of skull there, but those pieces told a story, and it wasn't one we were prepared for. More bones turned up, in Spain, France, England, Ethiopia, and even China. A pattern emerged. This wasn't a one-off evolutionary mistake. This was an entire species, one that roamed the earth long before Homo sapiens. Their faces, brutal, low, heavy brows, receding foreheads, massive jaws, faces that looked less like ours and more like something that had survived an extinction, but their brains, nearly as big as ours, sometimes even bigger. They were strong. They were smart. And they may have been first to hunt in groups, first to dominate landscapes, first to think like us. So why do we know almost nothing about them? Because what came next, we might not want to remember. Chapter 2. Built like a beast, thinking like a man. Most ancient humans were adapted to their environment, but Homo heidelbergensis, they were built for it. Imagine the frame of a professional wrestler mixed with the endurance of a marathon runner. That's what we're talking about. Thick bones, massive muscle attachments, powerful grips. These weren't lanky scavengers. They were apex predators. But the terrifying part wasn't just their strength. It was their intelligence. Their brain volume ranged between 1,200 and 1,400 cubic centimeters, squarely in the modern human range. They didn't just survive in brutal ice age conditions. They thrived. Their skulls suggest complex spatial reasoning. Eye sockets built for binocular vision, likely capable of throwing spears, building shelters, tracking prey over long distances. We used to think only Homo sapiens were thinking humans. But now, some researchers believe Homo heidelbergensis may have been the first to develop early language. Or something very close. A brain like ours. In a body that could tear us apart. It's no wonder they dominated 3 continents for hundreds of thousands of years. And yet, the evidence they left behind gets darker the deeper we dig. Chapter 3. The Day We Found Their Tools. In Schöningen, Germany, archaeologists unearthed something that shouldn't have existed. A perfectly crafted wooden spear over 300,000 years old, balanced, sharpened, designed for aerodynamic precision. It didn't belong to Homo sapiens. It was made by Homo heidelbergensis. This wasn't a crude stick. This was a weapon. It took planning, shaping, testing, and it wasn't alone. Nearby, butchered horse bones were found, sliced cleanly with stone tools. These ancient humans weren't scavengers waiting for leftovers. They were hunters, organized, precise. They hunted in packs. They used ambush strategies. They coordinated takedowns of animals twice their size. They left behind axes with symmetrical edges and customized grips. They shaped stones with intent. Some sites even suggest they returned to specific hunting grounds year after year. What kind of mind remembers a location? What kind of mind improves its tools over time? The kind that doesn't just want to survive, but to dominate. But the truly haunting part is not how they hunted animals. It's how they may have hunted each other. Chapter 4. Cannibals, Killers, or Survivors. At a site called Atapuerca in northern Spain, scientists made a gruesome discovery. Over 24 Homo heidelbergensis skeletons dumped in a deep vertical shaft. Some were children, many had fractures, trauma, cut marks. Some skulls were deliberately smashed in, and some showed signs of defleshing. This wasn't a peaceful burial ground. This was a pit of violence. Were they murdered by their own kind? Did ritual sacrifice exist that early, or was it survival cannibalism during famine? We may never know, but the clues paint a picture of a society not just capable of violence, but of repeating it. And it wasn't isolated. Other sites across Europe and Africa show similar patterns: broken skulls, burned bones, evidence of butchering. It challenges everything we want to believe, that intelligence brings peace. Maybe intelligence just makes us better at war. Chapter 5. They lived with fire, but died in ice. One of the great markers of human evolution is fire. Fire meant warmth, protection, cooking, community. And yes, Homo heidelbergensis used it. Charcoal remnants, burnt bones, and hearth-like structures suggest fire was part of their lives. They gathered around it. They may have even passed down stories beside it. But then the world changed. Temperatures plummeted, glaciers spread, the ecosystems they relied on collapsed, and slowly. So did they. Some held on in pockets, mountain caves, warmer valleys, but the species that had once ruled across continents began to vanish, not overnight, not in one big event, but in silence, in ice, until the forests echoed with something new. Footsteps shaped like ours. Chapter 6. Not our ancestor, our enemy. For years, textbooks claimed Homo heidelbergensis evolved into Neanderthals, and then into us. But new evidence challenges that. We now know Homo sapiens emerged in Africa around 300,000 years ago, and as we moved into Europe and Asia, we didn't find empty land. We found them. And the question becomes unavoidable. Did we wipe them out? Some argue we simply outcompeted them, more adaptable, more efficient. But others point to overlapping fossils, strange burial sites, and even hybrid remains. Could we have fought them, driven them into extinction? Or worse, did we absorb them? Did Homo heidelbergensis disappear because they became part of us, through force or fear? Chapter 7. What if they were smarter than us? Here's the terrifying twist. Some researchers believe Homo heidelbergensis might have had cognitive traits we lost. Their brains were larger in some areas. Their hunting strategies required deep cooperation. They built shelters, returned to camps, even navigated long-distance terrain. They may have had proto-language, rhythm-based communication, maybe even early symbolic thinking. So what if evolution didn't just take the best traits? What if it cut away parts of our potential? Maybe they were better at some things, more tuned to nature, less self-destructive, less obsessed with control. Maybe we didn't win because we were smarter. Maybe we just played dirtier. Chapter 8. Vanished without a trace. Almost. By 200,000 years ago, Homo heidelbergensis had largely disappeared, but they didn't leave a clean fossil trail. They left fragments, echoes, a skull in one cave, a jaw in another, the occasional footprint, tool, or broken spear tip. It's like they were swallowed by history, and yet, the bones don't lie. Many Neanderthals share traits with them. Some Homo sapiens skulls in early Europe carry unusual features, wide jaws, strange brow ridges. It's possible we didn't fully replace them. It's possible they're still with us, not in the forests, but in our faces, our bones, our DNA. Chapter 9. The beast still lives in you. Look in the mirror, the shape of your jaw, the curve of your brow, the way your eyes track danger in the dark. You carry the past with you. Your brain, it's ancient, programmed for fear, for firelight, for tribal survival, programmed by ancestors who fought, hunted, and endured alongside creatures like Homo heidelbergensis. You are not modern, you are prehistoric in a hoodie, a descendant of survivors who didn't just outthink the world, but outlasted the monsters who once walked beside them. And maybe, just maybe, The beast didn't vanish. It just learned how to use a smartphone. Conclusion: we like to think we're special, that somewhere along the line, evolution chose us to be the dominant species. The thinkers, the builders, the rulers of the planet. But the more we dig into the past, the more that story gets blurry, because there were others. Others who stood tall, who thought, who fought, and who may have stared at the same moon, with the same questions. They weren't monsters, they were mirrors. And maybe the scariest part of Homo heidelbergensis isn't how different they were, it's how close. If you found this journey into deep prehistory eye-opening, strange, or even a little unsettling, you're not alone. Hit that subscribe button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and join us next time as we dig up another piece of the forgotten human story. Because, trust me, the past is far weirder than you've been told.